Hey guys, Buffing Game Bad today, bringing another video, and today we're going to be covering the top 5 M4 builds in Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Yesterday we did the top 5 AK custom builds you can do in Call of Duty Modern Warfare, so today we're going to cover the top aesthetic M4 builds we can cover here in Modern Warfare 2019. So you can see on screen some of the previews here we're going to build. Again, these are mainly for aesthetic purposes, different conversions and variations of the M4, M16, and the SR25, and some others we can build here. So some of them are actually very viable in multiplayer, obviously, for Modern Warfare, and even in Warzone, you can take some of these in. I've had a lot of success with these, so you can find some of those videos specifically for these weapons on the channel for Warzone videos as well. But let's go ahead now, and we'll back out, and we'll go to our weapon inventory where I have these pre-built, and we'll start out with the LVOA, or the Low Visibility Operation Assault Weapon. So we'll go ahead and select this. Now, for this weapon, I'm building from a blueprint called the Abaddon. So if we go to this, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, but if let's look at our weapons themselves, we can look at the blueprints for the M4. We have actually 21 blueprints, so it's probably some of the most we have in game here. But we can see this is the one that came in shop, I believe, last week or 2 weeks ago with Lurch bundle. And again, it has that skeletonized M4. It's the skeletonized ISR, the integrally suppressed rifle for the M4 here. So nice looking weapon. We're using this mainly just for the skeletonized lower receiver. And let's go ahead and back out, and we'll go ahead and jump into this weapon itself. So first off, what we're going to be using here is we're going to be running the, I'll strip this down just so you can see, and we can take the camo off this for now too. So what we'll be running are going to be the monolithic suppressor. Again, you can run the tactical suppressor if you really want to make it look more tactical, obviously. But monolithic suppressor, that'll translate nicely into Warzone too. But again, sound suppression, damage at range, ADS speed, and aim walking steadiness are your cons. But this is going to build us a nice weapon. If we go to this LVOA C, we're going to want for the FFS 14.5-inch tackle, it's going to assist with the ADS speed, the cons of the bullet velocity. But we're going to want the zip tie barrel option there for the Frankenstein. That's going to give us that LVOA C type barrel, or even the Salient Arms Industries gray rifle handguard on this weapon. So we'll go ahead and do that. Next up, we'll go ahead with a tac laser. Again, that's going to help us out a lot with the ADS speed, aiming stability, and the aim walking steadiness. The cons is that the laser will be visible to the enemy when you do toggle an ADS. But again, so you can see some of the, it's hard to see the color there in the far right-hand corner of the laser, but I prefer to go with the default because I like that tan PEC 15. Now for the optic, we'll go ahead and run the EOTech on this. Nothing special with this one. And then for the underbarrel attachment, I'm thinking we'll go with a Ranger foregrip. However, I'm going to use the Warpig option there for that. The Ranger will help us with the recoil control and the aiming stability for this weapon. Cons are going to be the aim walking movement speed and the aim down sight speed. So that's our final design for the skeletonized LVOA C, or even the Salient Arms gray rifle. Now, one other object here you could definitely run with the commando foregrip on this. Looks very aesthetically pleasing as well. In the gameplay, you'll see I'm using just the Ranger foregrip, but you can go ahead and put that on. And then for the camouflage, we can go ahead and run any of these ones. Look really nice. We'll go ahead and run this for right now. And again, you can see there's our LVOA C, or our Salient Arms Industries gray rifle. We have that skeletonized lower receiver on the weapon. And as well as we can see, the only thing I don't love about this is the gold coloring in this. But again, you can use any different really blueprint for this. You can use any M4 blueprint with just that zip tie barrel on there. That'll give you the LVOA C, or the Salient Arms Industries gray rifle build. But I think it looks really nice, aesthetically pleasing with that PEC 15 on the top of Katini. Really nice looking build overall. This is probably one of my most aesthetically pleasing ARs for the M4 that I like in game. Probably, if not I think this is probably my favorite looking one to run in game by far. So go ahead and back out, and we'll go to our next option. It's going to be the Mark 18 CQBR. So this one you can see here, we'll go ahead and strip this down for the barrel. We're going to go ahead and, first off, I'm using the fair brass blueprint just because, so we have that tan lower receiver, or the UDT green lower receiver. Now the barrel, we're going to want the 11.5-inch commando barrel. That'll help out with the ADS speed and the movement speed. Cons are bullet velocity and recoil control, obviously. Laser, I'm going to, again, run a tac laser just for aesthetic purposes. I think it is going to look really nice and tactical on this weapon. Going to assist with the ADS speed, aim stability, and aim walking steadiness. Optic, we'll keep it simple and go with the EOTech again. And then for the stock option, we can leave that with Assault Mod. And we'll go ahead and run, for the underbarrel, we'll run a Again, we'll run a Ranger foregrip with the War Pig attachment there. So that'll help mitigate the recoil control, or help us out with that because of the shorter barrel option, and help out with our aiming stability as well. And then really the final attachment would be up to you. You could really run any of these. You could even run a suppressor on there. However, I'm going to leave it just 4 attachments for this one. You can see that's our Mark 18 CQBR. Really nice looking weapon. Again, very, very good in close quarters, especially in multiplayer for Modern Warfare and even hardcore and realism modes. Not the best in Warzone, definitely, because it's such limited range for this. So definitely, you probably never see anybody running this in Warzone. However, a lot of fun to use if you're still playing Modern Warfare, multiplayer, anything like that. Definitely fun to use this weapon. I think it looks really, really nice, especially just shooting it. And I used to run this a lot in shipment. A lot of fun to use. So let's go ahead and back out now, and we'll go to our next one, being the AK, or excuse me, I didn't rename this. So this is actually going to be our SR25 build. So I have it named differently up top just because I used a custom blueprint that I had saved previously, but you can really use any M4 blueprint with this one. First off, we're going to start with the monolithic suppressor. Again, for the sound suppression, damage at range, that'll also keep you off the minimap in Warzone, which is good. Cons are the ADS speed and the aim walking steadiness. And for the barrel option, we're going to want that Corvus Custom Marksman. That's that M16A4 style barrel. And we can really just use the default, would be fine for this, because I'm putting on a camouflage on this. But that'll be very similar to the M16 handguard or barrel you can put on this. It's going to have the same pros and cons. However, the damage at range and the recoil control will be a little bit more with the M16 Grenadier barrel. However, the mobility is going to be worse. So I like to run the Corvus Custom. Damage at range, bullet velocity, and recoil control are the pros. The cons are going to be the ADS speed and the movement speed. Next up, the variable zoom scope on this weapon is going to allow us to toggle from 3 to 6.1. So this is really built as a DMR. If you guys have seen the SR25 videos I've done in the past, go ahead and check those out if you haven't. This is really, really viable in Warzone for sure, especially in multiplayer and hardcore for Modern Warfare. Then we'll run the M16 stock. This is really just for aesthetic purposes. If I were running this in game, I would swap this for a commando foregrip for the underbarrel just for better aiming stability. However, for this case, we'll stay more true and we'll go ahead and run the M16 stock. Just running the default on this is going to assist with the aiming stability for the weapon. Then the final attachment, the fifth and final, is going to be the ammunition. We're going to change that to the 4.58 SOCOM rounds, 10-round magazine. It's going to improve the damage and the range. And again, it's not 7.62 by 51, but it's really the closest we can get to replicating an SR25 here in game. So this is our SR25 build for our M4. Again, one of the better conversions I think we can make in game, turning this weapon into a lot of different builds here with the M4. In this case, we can turn it into an SR25 for the most part. Minus the ammunition, there's some cosmetic differences I like to see on the barrel and things like that from Knight's Armament Company, but I think for the most part, this is as good as it gets. Really nice looking conversion. Again, it handles really, really well in multiplayer, and especially in Warzone. I remember when Warzone first came out, I was running this, and this thing just destroyed people back then. It's not as viable now just because a lot of the weapons have very, very fast TTK, and everyone kind of has the meta down, so it's really hard to experiment nowadays. But this thing used to be the king in Warzone. I would get a lot of kills with this. Downs people very, very quickly. So that's our SR25. And next up, we'll cover the Daniel Defense ISR, the integrally suppressed weapon. So for this one, again, this is another conversion I've covered in the past and a Warzone build. We're going to go ahead and strip this down. I'm using the Fair Brass blueprint for this one. You see this one a lot in some of the videos today. But again, the barrel, we're going to want that 12.4-inch Predator. This is the integrally suppressed barrel for this weapon. It's going to help out with the sound suppression and the ADS speed. Cons are going to be the bullet velocity. However, the 2-for-1 is that we don't have to put a muzzle attachment on because it is an integrally suppressed weapon. Next up for the laser, we're going to run a tack laser. It's going to help with the ADS speed, aiming stability, and the aim walking steadiness. The cons are going to be that the laser is going to be visible to enemies when you are ADSing. And for the optic, again, we're going to run the 4x flip on this. I prefer this on this build. For some reason, I just enjoy running it like this. It's going to allow us to toggle from a 4 to a 1x EOTech, and then the cons are just going to be the ADS speed. So we'll select that. We'll run with the base buttstock on this one, and we'll also use the underbarrel here. We're going to go with the Ranger foregrip for the War Pig again. And one thing you could do here, I don't think I'm using it in the gameplay you'll see, but you could go with the M16 stock for more aiming stability and use that XRK M4 buttstock there, and that's going to give you that nice Magpul style buttstock on the weapon. Really nice, aesthetically pleasing gun. A lot of fun to use in multiplayer, especially even in Warzone. I've used this. I used to have this as a solo. And you can definitely still run this in quads and trios, duos, things like that. Just put on a different magazine instead of the buttstock. You have a really, really good weapon here. This thing hits really hard, especially at closer ranges. And the cool thing with this is with the barrel, the PEC-15 or the laser there goes on the right-hand side of the handguard there on that Picatinny instead of on top. So interesting how they do that. I'm not sure why, but they do it with a few different weapons like the 433 and things like that. Some of the barrels, the laser will go on the right-hand side of the weapon. So pretty neat looking gun. A lot of fun to use as well. Very, very viable in multiplayer and Warzone. Next up, we'll cover the M16. So this is an M16 build that I've covered this one in Warzone too. We'll strip this down. I'm just going to use the Task Force blueprint. I like this with the tan lower, and especially we have that Stenags 30-round magazine. So the barrel, I'm going to run Corvus Custom Marksman. Same pros and cons we covered. Go ahead and put that on. Then the laser, I'm going to run the TAC laser on this again. And the cool thing about this is it removes the rail cover on the top there. You can see that rail cover is removed. If we were to remove that PEC-15, we'd have a rail cover on that top Picatinny. So with this, it removes it, makes it look a little bit more aesthetically pleasing in my mind. I like it like that. It looks nice, and again, it's very viable. Because you have that longer barrel, it's going to help out with the mobility and ADS speed a little bit too. Now the optic, for this one, I always love to run the integral hybrid or the hammer sight on this. Going to allow us to toggle from the 3.25 to the 1x on top, that top mounted red dot sight. We'll go ahead and select that. And then we can run the base stock here, or for this case, we can run, if we want to make a true M16, we'll run the M16 stock. You can see you obviously have a few different options here. We'll run with the default one, and it'll help out with the aim and stability, the cons, aim, walking, movement speed. And then the final one, again, we're going to go ahead and run that Ranger foregrip. Common reoccurring theme here, I'll run the Warpig just because I prefer that, the way it looks. Very aesthetically pleasing again. And again, that's going to remove, if we select that, it's going to remove that bottom rail cover, obviously, to attach the grip to the Picatinny on the bottom. So that is our M16. Again, really, really nice build. I've run this in Warzone solos quite a bit. Had a few wins with it back, I think, probably Season 4-ish. You're not suppressed with this build, but you could easily swap out the buttstock for a suppressor. But again, I think it handles really, really well. The M4 in-game, especially in Warzone, is still a very, very underrated weapon. It hits really hard, fast rate of fire, really good, well-rounded weapon. And again, this is a lot of fun to use. I really like this M16 build. It brings me back to the M16A3 from Battlefield 3, and a lot of fun to use. You're not going to keep yourself off the minimap in Warzone, but if you're playing solos, it's really not as important as it would be in duos, trios, or quads. So that is our M16. And then that's our top 5 aesthetic builds. One thing we'll cover as an honorable mention here is going to be the 50 cal Beowulf. For this one, this was the Calibrutal blueprint that came back in Season 2 or 3, I want to say. Maybe it was even Season 1, actually. And I believe this was a store bundle. So the Calibrutal blueprint, you can see, is going to, that 14.5-inch tack light barrel is going to change the handguard, and it's going to put that 50 cal Beowulf barrel on there with that 50 cal Beowulf muzzle brake. So this is a nice aesthetic conversion here for this weapon. It's going to run that custom 14.5-inch tack light, the holographic sight, the Forge Tac CQS buttstock, and the SOCOM rounds. Obviously, it's not 50 cal Beowulf, but it's the closest we'll get in game, and that Ranger foregrip. And again, this thing's a lot of fun to use. I remember I was using this in Realism right when it came out, and I was doing the blueprint video for it, and it just crushes with those 458 SOCOM rounds. It really handles how you would expect a 50 cal Beowulf to handle, and hits like a truck. A lot of fun to use, and again, it's pretty aesthetically pleasing. Really nice cosmetic change to for the blueprint itself, which is cool. So those are our top 5 aesthetically pleasing M4 builds here for Call of Duty Modern Warfare. You can use these in Warzone as well. Let me know down below what you guys think. What are your favorite builds? There's obviously way more than 5 that we could build here, but to keep it simple and straightforward, we'll go with the top 5. So let me know down below what you guys think of this. This is the top 5 aesthetically pleasing M4 builds. Till next time, Buffin' Gaming, out.